So, in this one, I'm going to do Hegel's The Science of Logic, and I'm going to describe what he says in the abstract, and then I'm going to relate that to personal identity and how we can actually learn from this. Like, how can we understand how a human becomes who they are um, through Hegel's understanding of it? And now this is very like beautiful and poetic, and this is dealing with a lot of kind of basic things that people say they know about Hegel, but they don't actually know about Hegel. So, so this comes into that whole thesis, antithesis, synthesis, and people think that's what Hegel is, even though that was even though Hegel never said that, and people just kind of apply that to him. I think it was like like Fichte or Schelling that ended up actually saying that. But it's applied to Hegel, so because in university when they want to teach you Hegel, they just make it simple so that they don't have to actually have to explain Hegel to you, who is very complex. So, number one, you have the doctrine of being. Okay, so you have the empty being of identity, and so this is being, nothing, becoming. That's the movement. So Hegel always talks about he always writes in triads, and it's always movement and it's rhythm. And so this is kind of what the formula of thesis, antithesis, synthesis doesn't really get, because it's all of these things happening, and um, it's all of these things happening at once. It's not just this kind of formulaic thing. It's many things happening like it would in a song or music. So being, nothing, becoming. So pure immediacy collapses into emptiness. It produces the first movement, which is becoming. So you have being, you have nothing, and then you have becoming. Okay. And next, you get to quality and finitude. So these are the limits of the self. So in the abstract logic, you have something and other, which means everything exists only by contrast to what it is not. And because of this, you create a limit, and this limit means something is finite, all right? And then if you have something that's finite, you also have the infinity of it, and that is the finite which points beyond itself towards what it cannot contain, okay? Now you have the third one. So that's the doctrine of essence. So this is reflection and depth. So you have, so again, back to the abstract logic, you have essence versus appearance. So this is to say essence is not hidden behind appearance, it shines through it. And so if this is the case, so everything has a ground, everything has a deeper explanation, all right? And so in this way, essence holds opposites, and then these contradictions are the motors of movement. Okay. So we have number 4, the doctrine of the concept. The self as self-conscious idea. So in abstract logic, you have concept, Begriff in German. So that's the universal that contains both particularity and individuality. And then you have judgment. So you have the self that differentiates. So subject, predicate, universal, particular, right? And then you have the unity of the universal, particular, and individual. And stick with me, this abstract stuff is going to make a lot more sense once I make it actually concrete with an actual understanding and relation to the self. So now you have number 5. So that's objectivity and the idea, or it's like identity in the world. So you have objectivity, whereas the concept externalizes itself into mechanisms, interactions, and teleology. All right. So this is the idea of unity of concept and objectivity. So reality is revealed as rational, and the rational is revealed as reality. So this becomes life, cognition, absolute idea. The idea becomes living, knowing, and self-unifying. So let's do the summary of this by going through the through the 9. So you have 1, you have being, and that's I exist, and this existence is empty, restless, and undefined. And then you have nothing, which is number 2. And this is this is the idea of being collapses because you cannot live as a blank. So you have 3, which is becoming, and this is you try on roles, you test limits, you shift identities. Okay. Then you have number 4, you have something and other, which means you start to define yourself by negation. You define yourself by what you are not. Okay. I'm one thing and not the other thing. I've created a limit. Okay. Now this limit, so this limit that you've created, so these like these roles, so these I am this, I am not that, are labels, and then these labels become constricting. So as it constricts you, you want to reach for more. So this is the limit and the infinity. Okay? So then to reach for more, you go to essence. And so essence, you reflect inward. And so these contradictions you start to fight with, but as you fight the contradictions, these contradictions drive you deeper. Okay? And this gives you the idea of 7, which is concept. And so now in this concept, you unify the contradictions, the universal, particular, and individual, and then you externalize yourself in the world. So this is objectivity. Okay? So you work, you create, you love, and you take actual action in the world. And then this finally goes to 9, which is where identity matures into reconciliation. So the self and the world reflect one another. Okay? So in this way, you see the kind of like stages of evolution that you go through. So let's make this more concrete. And so let's just kind of explain each basic thing and then just go through the 8 of them again, but applying it to personal identity. Okay? So you've got stage 1. You just exist. It's being. Okay, so your identity is just raw existence. You're alive, you're present, but you don't really know what you are. Okay, so this is like a baby or a teenager when they first kind of start to think to themselves, "I am," and then they look closer, but it's empty, because just saying "I exist" doesn't talk. So it doesn't say who you are. Okay, so then you have stage 2, which is nothing. So this comes from saying, well, that's not enough, right? So this realization hits you. It's pure existence without definition is nothing. Okay, you can't just live as a blank I. You need content, and so that emptiness forces movement. Okay, so you have stage 3, which is becoming, and now you're trying to become something, and so identity becomes a process. Okay? You experiment. You try different roles, you try different personalities, you try different beliefs. But now you're in motion, so you're no longer fixed, right? So think of yourself in like adolescence. You're trying on different hairstyles, different music genres, opinions, careers. So maybe you're a communist for a bit, and now like I don't know, you're a metalhead, you're emo, and you're testing boundaries. And you go, okay, maybe if I just define myself by my job, that is me trying something, but you're becoming, right? But in order to do this, so this takes us to stage 4. So this is the something against the other. So it's I'm this and I'm not that. So you have to draw lines. So you say I'm strong, I'm not weak. I'm an artist, I'm not an accountant. So then this is identity this is identity by negation. Okay, you're saying what you're not. But when you say what you're not, what you're doing is you're limiting, because every something points to another thing that still haunts you. Okay? So this takes us to stage 5. So this is the limit, and so against infinity. This is called like the I want more stage, okay? So these boundaries that you've set now start to feel like a cage, right? Because you don't only want to be defined by like what you aren't. You want to be defined by, well, what you are, like something in the positive. Okay, so then you've got these limits, and now you chase growth, adventure, reinvention, because what you've done is like you've made these categories, but you see that there are other things beyond the category. So this like limit of saying you're not this, and but you are that. This leads us to stage 6, which is essence. So this is what's beneath the surface. Okay, so if you're this boundary, then you look inward, and so your identity is no longer just outer traits or labels. You start asking like, what really drives me? What's my essence? Okay, and here you discover contradictions, because a part of you wants safety, and another part wants risk, and a part of you is kind, and another part of you is cruel. And so these conflicts aren't flaws, they are what fuel your growth. So if you explore these allow you for a better self-concept, right? And which is stage 7. So we have concept. And stage 7, this concept is you unifying your contradictions. So you stop running from the contradictions and you hold them together, right? You see yourself as a unity. You're no longer having to define yourself by just one or just the other. You understand. Well, sometimes I'm brave, sometimes I'm afraid. Okay, so you start seeing yourself as a unity in this stage. So you have the universal unity, right? So you're a human, you're free, you're rational. Okay, but then you have the particulars of you. So you're shaped by your culture, your history, your experiences. And then you have your individual, which is what is uniquely you, right? The one who unifies all of those things. And so then identity becomes like a coherent thing. It's not a mask anymore, it's an integrated self, right? So this takes us to stage 8, to objectivity. So I make myself real in the world. Okay? So your identity isn't complete until it takes form outside of you. So it has to take forms outside of you. So this is in your work, your relationships, and the stuff that you create. So your inner self shows itself in the world. You objectify yourself. Okay? Your identity is seen in what you build, how you love, what you stand for. So you've taken this and now you're able to, bring it into the world. So these ideas about yourself, and then this is what like is seen by the world. And these are the things that you stand for. So these are the things that this is the way that you behave, right? So then this takes us to stage 9. And so this is the idea. So this is kind of the self-transcendent idea, right? So you no longer see yourself, you no longer see a split between your inner self and the outer world. You recognize reality in yourself, and reality recognizes itself in you, right? So this is like self-actualization. So in this way, identity isn't private, it's life. It's knowing itself through you. Okay? So this last part's a very kind of like a Buddhist understanding of the world, right? In that there's no in that there's no separation between you and the world. When you walk into a room, what you realize is that the things that you pay attention to, those are the things that you are. So when we talk about this is like, if you are anxious, you walk into a room full of people and you start trying to figure out where you fit in that room full of people, right? So say you're obsessed with status, that's the same thing. Where am I on this hierarchy? If you just are self kind of realized, you're just doing your own thing. You're not even thinking about where you fit in with these people. You're just there being you as you are. And so this is a movement. So this is evolution. Okay, so this is these different aspects coming into not even necessarily conflict into each other, but it's a growth, it's a movement, it's a rhythm, it's musical in the way that he puts it. So it's not just thesis, antithesis, synthesis. This is kind of like a cycle where every stage collapses into the next until you reach wholeness.